Start the morning right with a cup of Vinyl Tap. Nothing beats the refreshing taste of a hot, warm mug of Vinyl Tap. Enjoy your podcast in liquid form today. Vinyl Tap. Enjoy responsibly.
2, 1.
Vinyl Tap.
I'm Jackson.
I'm Jackson.
I'm Jackson.
I'm Jackson.
This week we listened to What You Don't See by The Story So Far.
And it was great.
Was it?
No.
Are you sure that's what you felt about it?
I feel mixed.
I'm not surprised.
I'm like a lamb and chicken kebab.
He's mixed. Mixed on the issue. He comes with garlic, chili, and barbecue unless you request something else. Anyway, the album,
Yes.
we listened to it, and then it was now. So let's talk about it.
Sure. Now, this is very close to my heart, so I'll take anything you say as either... Very personally, yeah. It's going to be interesting.
Well,
Attack on Jackson's
I
character.
hated it, and I hate you.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah. I
We
kind of agree
can cut
with
the
Tim.
episode
I
now.
think...
I actually really like this.
Yeah.
It reminded me so much. Like, I grew up with Rise Against. It reminded me very much of that,
So did I,
but
yeah.
like cleaner and more developed.
It's a more matured sound.
Yes.
Because Rise Against...
They started very raw.
They're very raw, and I feel like they were, at their prime, I feel like they were on the tail end of the grungy punk type of sound.
Yeah.
They were fantastic what they do, but I feel like Rise Against was at like the tail end of that sort of time period. And then Story So Far came about with a new, very clean, very refined, at least at this stage in their career with this particular album.
Right.
They came along and cleaned it up. And it's very, I don't know, pretty is the word I feel describes this album.
Clean grunge kind of punk
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, that's...
Maybe that's why Biebs is mixed.
Yeah, correct. No, that literally hits the nail on the head.
I really want to know your thoughts on the like screamy vocals because I know that's very polarizing to you.
Yeah, I hated them.
Yeah,
And
that's what I
that's-
thought.
Oh god, if
Yeah,
this is
okay.
screaming to you.
No,
this
no, it's
is-
not. No, it's not script, but it's like so. I hated it and loved it. So the instrumental stuff was like amazing, and then the vocals were. I think it's a mixing problem. They were fucking terrible, but I think it's
Really?
I think it's a mixing thing.
I think the mix is fantastic.
Yeah,
No,
I was gonna say nothing was on top of
no,
each other, even though you had these like
This is why I love
Exactly.
gross, dirty sounds, and you had a pretty guitar and like things that would have been in the same frequency range and sonic
Yeah.
space, and they all had their own room to be heard.
Yeah, that's
and with that-
horrible. It was so bad.
This is why I love Vinyl Tap.
Oh my fucking God.
They completely agree on what's happening.
They still be upset at each other.
It's like it wasn't even. I mean, it probably wasn't recorded with the band, but it's like the vocals were recorded in a completely separate space.
That's how they do
It's
it.
generally what
That's how
you
they
do.
it now.
Yeah, no, but then it like it wasn't like mixed back in with the band. It's like it's. I don't know how to put it. It's so.
It's not
clean
disconnected.
and
it's
you
not.
know it
no,
is.
it's
It is.
so not
And
disconnected.
it's got. Oh Jesus. Anyway. Fuck.
I liked him.
Yeah.
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 The first dot point I have
Big
is
range.
powerful / fat mix with a PH. Because it is. It's a fucking fat mix.
Why is everything
And,
so separate and
It's not.
independent?
It's not separate.
And then your cymbals sound
No.
like fucking
No,
trash because
no,
I
it's-
feel like I can hear
I
each individual
really.
That's what it should be.
No,
because
it's not.
no, it is because there's several songs in this album where the cymbals play an incredibly integral part of a transition or a bridge or something
Okay,
like that.
I
That's
was gonna say
fine.
the drums do a lot of smoothing over in transition.
They do a
They
lot of
do
work.
There's
so
not
much
a
work.
lot of
So much heavy
guitar or bass that's like making things work
Yep.
between sections. The drums carry through.
Yeah.
It's either 90% drums or it's a 50-50 mix of the lead guitar and the drums working together
Yeah.
to make a section or a transition work.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the mix works so well is because nothing is on top of each other. I know you hate it for whatever fucking reason. But that's
ignore
why...
him.
I can't, I'm sitting next to him. No, but I think that's why it works is because nothing's on top of each other and all the instruments, because they were recorded separately, they're able to work together all the time. And that's why.
Okay, I get it because there's which particular song was it where like they line up in All Wrong. there's like during the chorus, their drums are like locking in with that. What is like da 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 da. I can't remember what the notes that they're playing, but like the whole rhythm section is just like lined up really tight, and it's super rhythmic and like amazing. It was really, really, really cool. However, it's like no, I just disagree. It's like when you listen to something live, right?
I have
you
a
don't
theory.
get like a pocket of each individual thing. Like
Yeah.
it comes to you as like
Okay.
an ensemble.
I have
right?
a theory. So, Beebs Punk, you're used to the classic shit, right?
Yeah.
Where it's mixed terribly and it's all just a wall of sound
And it's
being
recorded in
blasted
one
at you.
room,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Okay, and that's what you think punk should be.
No, I don't think that's what punk should be. It's just I prefer that sound infinitely
Okay.
better. I prefer
Okay.
a sound where it's like.
So you want to be assaulted constantly.
Well, no, it's not assaulted. It's just how like. As a human, you hear things. This is how you interact with the world. Like when a band plays,
Does the
you
recording
hear the
have-
whole band.
Does the recording have to emulate that?
No, but it sounds really fucking bad in
So when-
A, vocals, and B, the cymbals, when you can hear them distinctly. Like the moment that the thought occurred to even be played, to the very final ringing in your ear, you can make out the exact definition and fidelity of that entire moment. And why? It's so distracting and fucked.
I really
don't
like
know
the
why
cymbal
you're
wash in this album.
yeah.
I thought it was really well treated. I thought, wow.
It was generally okay,
I thought,
but then
wow,
it kept
those
on coming
cymbals
back.
sound so much better than they have in... Like,
And the most stupid fucking thing in this whole thing is that in Empty Space, they
So glad
they
we started.
didn't mix it like that. The vocals were like, for whatever reason, like pulled back so that they mixed with the rest of for that one song, and then the rest of it, it was all stupid and terrible.
For that one.
Yeah, and I don't get it. Why would you do that to me? Like.
So you'd rather listen to a muddy recording where everyone's in the same room, and
Well, like
You can't enjoy the
No,
music.
we do
Empty
know
Space
this
then.
because when we did what were they called? 11 Paranoias. You were like, how much better are the recordings in the same room?
I mean, we all agree.
we did all
We
agree
all
on
did
that.
agree on that.
But that's what you want this to be?
I think this has been a long time coming. We've had almost a year of Vinyl Tap, and I think this is...
It is a year.
This
This episode is a year.
This is finally where I've realised why I hate that sound so much. And it's like...
well, the clean, crisp,
Yeah.
really easy to listen to mix.
yeah, correct.
Yeah.
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 I think it's...
You are doing my fucking head,
I think
man.
it's a real...
No, that's cool, and I get where you're coming from, but I don't think this band in particular, but also the sound, like with this pop punk melodic thing happening, I don't think that mix and that style of recording would do this band or any of the other bands justice for what
Because
they're
it's
trying
so
to do.
drum
that's fair
centric.
enough. Yeah.
It's drum
It's
centric.
so drum centric. You need the
it's
clarity
high end
there.
centric. You need bottom end and shit like that. It's
And
yeah.
that was something that I was like realizing as I was listening to this. It's like you can't really have one without the other, right? Like the only way this is going to function is with this really clean mix. And so then I just decided that the vocals suck. The band was great, and I don't like it.
All right, you're wrong, but we can move on. That's okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So why do you like it, Jackson? Let's
Why-
let's go
why do I like it?
complete one end of the
Alright,
spectrum
so-
to the other end of the spectrum.
So
Emphasis on spectrum.
moving away from the mix and the music, a lot of the lyrics throughout this whole album, it touches on things that I have been through, like learning how to let go of someone, learning, how like learning what someone or how someone values you, whether that's greatly or poorly, and you're not prepared for that sort of like response.
Right.
It's also about growing, learning how to fucking deal with a piece of shit partner, or living around someone that might treat you badly. It's all about like growth. So the music and the mix is fantastic, and that helps, but it's the lyrics and the story behind the album that I think is the sole reason why it's so important to me and why it's so dear. It's because there's a story behind it.
That's
that I
fucking
relate to.
epic.
Yeah.
I didn't hear
Sick.
the lyrics in this.
cool.
at
I didn't at all because I was
There's-
too busy listening to the notes.
I was
Also-
expecting this as well.
also-
yeah.
Yeah,
we
it's what
have-
happens here.
I was
Yeah.
going to say, we've pretty much established that most of the time we're not very lyric centric, especially
Yeah.
on like a first listen through.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's it's hard to get lyrics when you just listen to an album for the first
Yeah.
time all the way through. But like there's the glass, where it opens on drums and it's whatever. It's
Oh,
very
that was so
it's-
sick, by the way.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my
It's a
God.
very like classic punk type setup for that song, but the end of that song is so emotive, mainly due to the guitar and the build up and the drums shit like that. But the ending lyric is "Now you're gone," and it's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do or how do I
Right.
react or, it's like
Yeah.
asking a question. There's like an empty space. Name of the other song
Oh,
on the
there you
album.
go.
Not the next song, but
Yeah.
yeah. So a lot of each song in this album has a hook line in there
Yeah.
in the lyrics. My very good friend Ben Smalley, he describes this. He loves these guys as well. He describes the whole band as like angry finger pointing. So I've seen footage of these guys play, and the whole crowd for every single song. And there's at least one section where everyone in the crowd's like angry pointing at the singer and like screaming the vocals at him. There's at least one part in every single song where it's like that, and it's angry finger pointing.
Sick.
So
I think that's really interesting because something that I noticed melodically with all these lines is they're very like nursery rhyme-esque or like
Yep.
lullaby-esque.
Yep.
It's and it's
Super catchy.
super catchy, and I
Very
think it's like it's all
earwormy.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's first inversion chords as well. Or because it's like da 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 happens as like a
Da, 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 da.
right that like literally that I guess melodic motif was like all through it. So many of the chorus lines and the hooks all had that melodic structure.
By
which
first
is
inversion, do you mean that the melody like dances around the third?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So like the third is kind of the root of or the base of all of the like melodic lines. So they
Right.
circle.
Okay, the melodic lines. Yeah,
Yeah, the
that makes
melodic
sense.
lines. Yeah.
Because it's very root.
Oh no,
centric,
no,
of
it
course.
is. But then
Being punk.
it's interesting though that like the bass is smashing out root notes, but most of the guitar lines, because they're kind of marrying in with the vocal lines, all basically start from the third
Yep.
and then move off. They might go to the tonic, jump back to the fifth, and like descend and like step back to the third. So it's kind of, it gives this sense of like, I don't know, it's like familiarity, and also like it's never really static or satisfied. I don't
Right.
know, concluded. Like it doesn't sit on that root note, so you're like, oh, it's like always a little bit tense.
Okay, there's more reason to this, and I think this will also fit in with some of the like lyrical painting of the music. This is a very sub-dominant heavy album, but by that I mean like it focuses on the fourth of the key instead of the first, like most music you'd expect to, right? So it chills out on that fourth chord so much. In fact, there's two songs, that don't have the tonic chord in them at all. They're both in D flat major, All Wrong and Bad Luck. There's no D flat chord. I mean, there is one in Passing and Bad Luck.
Is that why Bad Luck feels like a reprise
Can
to
you
All Wrong?
Can you feel in on Bad Luck and All Wrong?
I can.
Like, what's going on there?
Especially like that intro, it felt like they were quoting the previous
It's the same song.
It is the same
It's a
song, right?
continuation.
Yeah, so it is.
But I mean,
kind
they're short and fast, not like time.
Yeah.
But they're short and sweet, and I think it's just
Oh,
it's
definitely.
meant to be a continuation. But I think there's a very conscious and tactical reason why you like those melodies and the chords they use are in there.
Oh,
is
yeah.
because the story that these guys are trying to tell, it's meant to be unsettling.
Yeah.
That's-
What
that's
that
the
does,
emotion
focusing
that
on
they
the
were feeling,
sub-dominant
yeah.
and not having a tonic resolution, that's fragility right
Yeah.
there. So that's actually fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
I would say.
They are very, very good songwriters.
That's very clever.
But that, like, speaking, you brought up that they often write, like, nursery rhyme type get-ups, and that's their whole thing.
Yeah.
Right.
that's a conscious decision and it's effective and it works.
Right.
But it's not
That's
like
why
they're
it's
technical,
always
because-
it's always an earworm. It's always
They
that's
put
why
these-
it's so hooky and it
Yeah.
gets into your
Yeah.
fucking head.
So they're putting these familiar sounding, catchy hooks over more complex, mature, developed harmony.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
I really love that.
Yep.
A lot of the guitar riffs focus on, like, there's a lot of major sevenths and tritones going
Yep.
on here. Punk staples, of course, but because it's more melodic and that's like sub-dominant focus, it sounds, as I said, really fragile.
Yep.
Dude, cool. Every song except for 2 of them ends with like these harmonics in the guitar. Anyone else notice that?
You mean like feedback?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
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 Just like that.
Just like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I love that we have you. Yeah, and that was kind of funny to me that they chose to end almost every song like that.
I think it helps with cohesion.
Yeah, I suppose.
I've been listening to this album for fucking many a year, and it just doesn't get old. I think it helps that I don't burn myself out on these albums.
Yeah.
This one especially. I don't sit there for days and days and just get the album on repeat. It's always fresh like that.
It doesn't ruin it for me if I do that. You know that it doesn't. You know that I get obsessed with something and have to just work it out of my system.
There was something that you were like, I saw you like, you're listening, you're like, oh, what is that thing? And you're like trying to work out a melody. Was there something in
It
this
was
that
it was the
reminding you?
reprise with All Wrong and Bad Luck.
Oh, okay.
I was going. It's like the same
this the
thing,
same
isn't it?
song?
And I was
Yeah.
because it has like that weird pause and then comes back in, and I was like, hang on a second, it's a different
Yep.
So that's what I wanted to ask about.
Yep.
They have so many cool little textural techniques about like with the drums and instruments changing to
Yep.
like even when the verse is like the second verse is the same intensity as the first chorus, they'll like subtly drop out some texture before
Yep.
it comes back in, so the second chorus is big. And they have these moments in like Playing the Victim where they kind of have a tonal shift, and it's to do with the spacing on like what the drums are doing as well as the rhythms of the guitars.
Yep.
I wish they would sit down in those moments a little longer.
Okay.
They're really cool when they have that shift, and then they just snap by for like, I think the longest one was something like 8 bars.
Yeah.
And other than that, it had these little moments where I was like, oh, this is so cool and interesting.
Yeah.
And already we were back into high energy pumping, which
Yeah.
sounds cool. But to hear them like kind of tease these really cool ideas that they had written
Yeah.
and not even flesh them out, but not even like wallow in just that for a
Yeah.
little bit longer was really like,
A lot of the intros had really, really cool, like, so different from the rest of what they were doing musically. Like, the intros were so many different things. I think, like, the beginning of, you mentioned it earlier, The Glass. I got huge Carnival vibes. I think it's either
Really?
Dead Man or Umbra.
because of the drum
the
intro.
drumming intro, and
Yeah,
just like the...
Dead Man. Yeah.
Yeah, and
I
it
can
was
see what you're
like-
saying.
It was really cool to hear, like, all these kind of really short snippets of, like, almost like other genres kind of appear, and then they were like reprised a little.
Yeah.
Because in like if we're going to talk about The Glass there, when the guitar like because they're a 5-piece, right? They've got 2 guitarists, a bassist, a drummer, and a singer,
Yes,
from what I
that's
could
right.
tell.
Yep.
So they've got that guitar riff, but then the rhythm guitar was locking in with the drums after the drum had done the intro to do like stabs while the riff continued.
Yep.
And like they had other moments of that across the album where things would lock in together and then like kind of drift apart independently and then lock in together, which is so
Yeah.
cool. Like
Yeah.
the way that they used rhythm in that sense was really interesting and really cool.
Yeah.
Like it happens again in the chorus in All Wrong. Yeah, and I know what you're saying
Yeah.
about Carnival if you bring that up. Yeah.
Yeah. I think what's some other highlights? And right here, there's like that
Yep.
palm muted chug
Yep.
that they do.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
so sexy. And that, again, I don't really feel like they did too much of that
Yeah.
throughout the whole album.
Yeah, because they originally, so their previous albums and EPs, they were like grungy type punk, and I think this album was like a conscious venture off of that to a more refined and disciplined and matured sound. but I think that chuggy sort of riff is like a nod to where they've come from and their influences.
I really liked it that it was. I mean, like this is one example where they just had like little moments just put in as like nods or references, and it really like, I don't know, it added like for right here, it added so much to that song. Just have that chug section just happen, and it wasn't like all through. It just kind of came up in the, I think it was like the middle, like the second chorus or something like that. Fucking amazing. Really, really cool. I don't think it happened anywhere else, but again, you know.
I do know.
Yeah, I've got nothing else to follow from that, so
know.
someone save me.
Talking about like chugging in Empty Space, I think from memory is the only song where you had a moment where the drums kind of weren't doing like they dropped out enough that something else was continuing and carrying on. I think there's a moment with the rhythm guitar where it carries the section and isn't relying on the drums to keep the energy and the pulse, which was again a cool little thing that I wish they had like either done a little bit more on in this song or brought back in other songs.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe I'm not getting that sort of like thirst for more of that. I think only because I listen to these guys and I always know the next song or then like a song on a different album is going to scratch that particular itch.
Yeah.
I think you're getting that itch that's not getting scratched because you haven't heard these guys before.
So go on,
You're not exposed.
venture forth and scratch thine itch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Favorite songs?
The Glass.
There you go.
That's it.
For any particular reason, or are you gonna?
You know, The Glass is a very powerful song to me, particularly from just the music standpoint. It's like really emotive right from the start, and then it reaches this crescendo at the end, where it's screaming lyrics like "Now You're Gone" over really powerful riffs, and the drums are really punchy. And I wish that section at the end just went for, I don't know, half as long again. I just need that. That's the one itch I've got. The one itch I've got in this whole album. I just want more of that last section. I don't know, maybe early in the song or, you know, just double the ending. I don't know. But that's my all-time favorite. Stifled's pretty good as well, the second one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Stifled's really good. Because that lyrically, to me, is a song about insecurity with the partner, whether it be distance or self-confidence, and you're either projecting or you're trying not to, and you don't know what clear thoughts are what, and that's something that I had to deal with growing up. This song, this album was released back in 2013, which I think was towards the end of my high school years.
Right.
I think I graduated in 14, 15, something like that. I can't remember. But I was a very different person back then, and I went through a very long, very aggressive year of very long, very aggressive time of personal change, where I was learning how to handle life essentially, as everyone was at that point.
Yeah.
And so listening to those songs about insecurity and learning to grow and be self-confident and trusting and loving without being overbearing, that song in particular really spoke to me the first time I heard it, because it's like overseas while you're back west. It's like there's a physical distance between him and his partner, and he's got insecurities and he doesn't know how to handle it, and he doesn't want to be a piece of shit, but he doesn't mean it, but he's still a piece of shit, which is something that I've been guilty of. Like, I'm doing my best, but I've been a cunt, and and it's just, so it's very raw, it's very real to me anyway. Like I can relate to it a lot.
Contextually, for like 2013 is, because I don't know much about this genre in general. I don't even like what genre is this categorized as? Is this like
melodic
hardcore?
Melodic hard. I mean, like, is
pop
this
punk
sort
kind
of
of
style of music?
It's not hardcore. It doesn't sit in the vein of hardcore at all.
Yeah. Okay.
It's melodic pop punk. Because
is this like the beginning of melodic pop punk, like 2013, or has it been
it
around for a
had
while?
been around
This is
like this,
for a fair while by 2013.
Okay.
These guys timed it really well. Not consciously, but the way things lined up with the global music scene, the way things were progressing, punk was being phased out and the grungy rock was being phased out.
Yeah.
And then this more mature sound was coming through. These guys were already going through that change anyway. Then they released this album, and everybody was already wanting this sound. They just didn't know where to get it.
Yeah.
And so when this dropped, it was like bang, like they just hit gold without knowing that they were sitting on gold. And I'm glad that they spent the time and the money doing the mix, doing the production, and investing the time properly into the quality, not just the songwriting, but the recording of it, because it's now so much more accessible to people. Because people hear, I'm speaking very generally here, but people hear grungy rock or punk and it's not accessible. They could enjoy it, but they hear it and they're like, oh, that's not really, like that mix is aggressive to me. I don't like that. And then this is a very refined, matured sound. So at this point, pop punk was coming into its own. And these guys timed it really perfectly. So in 2013, they were like on that wave of this new form of pop punk.
Because it was more its own thing as opposed to, hey, let's do covers of pop songs in a kind of fun way.
Yeah, like pop goes punk.
It's the end of the bowling for soup era.
Exactly. No, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Thank fuck.
Yeah.
Beeb's favorite song?
Empty Space.
Yeah, cool.
I've already covered why. I mean, look, I like quite a lot of it, but yeah, I think Empty Space just really, for me, sort of, kind of, it's, I don't know, the thing that I could relate to most from my own musical thing is like the first AFI album, where that's like very pop punk and it's all just, it's that wall of sound kind of, and just punchy hooks and a lot of energy. And Empty Space kind of gave me that listening experience the most, so I enjoyed it the most. I think they're really, really good musicians, but the rest of the album just didn't hit it for me.
It's okay,
sorry.
babes.
No, it's okay. Like, I just it's fine because like everyone's got their opinion, and it doesn't mean that they're right or wrong. But
well, I could be wrong in your eyes. It's just you're wrong in my eyes. So
no, and then you
find
were
out.
also incorrect, and that's okay. We'll
Yeah,
fight when the camera's off.
Cool, perfect. Tim.
Anyway.
My favorite song, like Habibi's opinion, is All Wrong. Because thank you. I'll be here all night. Any song that can stay solidly in a key without playing the tonic chord at all, that earns my respect. And like, it's just a great song. I got some Fall Out Boy vibes. You know, thanks for the man.
Yeah.
You got that, yeah. And that reminded me of being young. And yeah, it was a good song. And the hi-hats in the start, man, that was fucking cool.
Yeah.
Yep, All Wrong. That did it for me.
Cool.
Yep, Jason.
Shout out to Empty Space, but I don't think it quite ticked everything for me. I think Small Talk was probably mine. It just had, I think the bass tone in that was probably the best across the album for me. And the call and response kind of intro between the like guitars, and it had like it had enough of the like variation in it as a song that I was kind of wanting for in other songs.
Yeah. No, sweet.
Yeah.
It's all my favorite. I love it all.
It's all the whole album.
The whole album is my favorite.
And just quickly, I also don't like. I think that it's like in a really cohesive order as well.
I think
so.
Which is not something that always happens when you listen to stuff. I think,
especially punk.
Yeah. I think changing the order would actually really detract from this, which is not a common thing that we get listening to albums.
This wasn't marketed as like a concept album, but it goes from talking about like being in a relationship, being insecure, and then working through it. There's a line, I forget what it was. There's a line in the song, All Wrong. There's a line in there, my father said, take all the love you can get. And that song's about, well, for me anyway, learning not to start arguments over trivial shit. And like realizing...
Like production of an album.
Yeah. And realizing that the mix is fucking good.
A cymbal wash is worth dying.
Yeah. But yeah, it goes through this whole, like, it's almost like stages of grief. It's like stages of realizing you were wrong or you were right, dealing with that, dealing with the fallout, and then finally, maybe finding something else or someone else to invest yourself into. But I think Framework is the last song. That is the perfect song to finish this album on, because it's a very good showcase for the story so far. That song sums up their style of song. It covers everything. It's got like a punchy hook. It's got melodic guitars. It's got drum work in there that's really effective. And the lyrics in there are also very good because it comes full circle. It's like talking about all of a sudden find yourself involved in or with another person, and you're like, I wasn't really prepared for this, but you've got all the lessons that you learned before, learning how to deal with things, learning how not to react, and it's just like, I'm not sure if I'm ready, but I'm gonna go and try.
Cool.
Next week on Final Tap, we're going to be listening to Wayfarer by the Jan Garbrick Group.
Click above to find out what else we've spoken about in this theme.
Click below to support the artist that we just listened to.
And make sure to tune in next week for more Vinyl Tap.
That's pretty good.